6:44 local. Strait of Hormuz. 11 nautical miles southeast of Keshem Island, 9 nautical miles from Iranian territorial waters. Sea state: calm. Swells at 0.5 meters. Visibility 8 nautical miles under morning Gulf haze. USS Carney, DDG-64, Arleigh Burke-class destroyer, was conducting transit security patrol in the Hormuz southbound lane. 6 days on station. 23 surface contacts on the display. The standard dense commercial traffic of the strait at morning peak. Among those 23 was MV Hormuz Pioneer, a 190-meter container vessel, northbound, AIS transmitting, listed cargo general goods from Bandar Abbas. On Carney's picture for 31 minutes, assessed as routine. At 6:44 and 12 seconds, it was at 4.1 nautical miles bearing 037. At 6:44 and 31 seconds, the vessel's forward cargo bay, a standard 40-foot shipping container in Bay Position 3 port, opened along a seam invisible to standard maritime observation. The container's roof and 2 side panels deployed outward on pneumatic hinges in 1.4 seconds. Inside, a launcher rack of 60 Arash-2 FPV drones in 6 rows of 10, standing vertical in their launch tubes. All 60 fired simultaneously at 6:44:33. 60 drones. 4.1 nautical miles. Speed 130 kilometers per hour. Time to Carney: 1 minute and 54 seconds. The SLQ-32 registered the Arash-2 coordination frequency at 6:44:33, the same instant as launch. 0 warning before the drones were in the air. SPY-1D acquired 60 tracks at 06:44:36. The TAO called general quarters at 06:44:38. 5 seconds from launch to alarm. 1 minute and 49 seconds remaining to impact. The Hormuz Pioneer launch system was the IRGC technical cell's answer to a problem the Roosevelt swarm engagement had revealed 14 months earlier. Ground-based swarms required observable coastal pre-positioning and fixed infrastructure. A ship-based swarm required none of that. It required only a vessel with legitimate commercial identity and a modified container that appeared on every commercial satellite pass and maritime surveillance system as a standard cargo unit. The modification program had taken 6 months at a private shipyard in the Bandar Abbas Free Trade Zone. The result was a 40-foot container holding 60 Arash-2 launch tubes, a ground control antenna array built into the container base, and a power system tapped from the vessel's electrical supply via a discrete junction installed during the modification. The vessel's civilian crew had been told it was communications equipment. 1 minute and 41 seconds. The CIWS forward acquired the lead drone contacts at 06:44:49, 11 seconds after general quarters, 60 drones at 3.8 nautical miles. The engagement range for the Phalanx 20mm against Arash. 2 drones at their approach. Speed was most effective at 600 to 800 meters. At 3.8 nautical miles, the CIWS was tracking, but not yet in its optimal engagement band. The system began pre-positioning its fire control tracking on the lead contacts. ESSM, rounds 1 through 8. 4 dual-rail launches. Away at 06:44:52 against the lead drone formation at 3.6 nautical miles. The ESSM's proximity fuse effectiveness against 6-kilogram FPV platforms with minimum radar cross-section was degraded. Each round had a probability of neutralizing 1 or 2 contacts. 8 ESSM rounds against 60 contacts. The math was not in Carney's favor. At 06:45:01, drones at 2.7 nautical miles, the terminal dispersion maneuver initiated. 20 held direct. Bearing 037. 20 shifted to bearing 023, left of center. 20 shifted to bearing 051, right of center. The dispersion forced the CIWS systems to manage 3 separate approach vectors simultaneously, each bearing transition at maximum fire rate, costing approximately 0.4 seconds of engagement time. Of the 8 ESSM rounds launched, 3 produced proximity detonations within lethal radius. 6 drones neutralized, 3 assessed, 54 still inbound. Forward CIWS began engaging the center group at 06:45:09 at 0.9 nautical miles. Aft CIWS engaged the right group simultaneously. Both guns cycled at 4,500 rounds per minute. Acquire, burst, transition, acquire, burst. The left group at bearing 023 was outside the aft CIWS's optimal arc, and the forward guns bearing transitions between center contacts produced only partial left group coverage. Estimated result: 11 to 14 of 19 center group contacts neutralized, 12 to 15 of 20 right group contacts neutralized, 6 of 20 left group contacts engaged. 14 contacts from the left group reached the ship with no CIWS engagement. 5 to 8 breakthrough contacts from the center and right groups also reached the ship. Total impact contacts: 19 to 22. The impacts occurred across a 41-second window from 06:45:28 to 06:46:09. Left group: 14 unengaged contacts across the port side. 06:45:28, frame 34, SLQ 32, EW suite port antenna array, direct impact. Port array inoperable. EW suite degraded to 60% sensitivity on the port arc. 06:45:31, frame 41, port bridge wing. External cable conduit to SPY-1D array 2 distribution panel. Conduit severed. Array 2 lost power at 0. 6:45:32. SPY-1D dropped to 75% coverage. Port quadrant dark. 06:45:34. Frame 52. Port main deck. Weather deck equipment housing. Non-critical structural damage. 06:45:37. Frame 61. Port bridge wing. Railing and port running light. Structural damage. 6:45:39. Frame 44. Port side. CIWS forward lower mounting bracket. The 6-kilogram charge caused a mechanical shock, displacing the traverse motor by 3.1 millimeters. Within tolerance, but registering as a fault. Forward CIWS continued firing. 6:45:41 through 6:46:09. 9 additional left group contacts on non-critical weather deck structure and fittings. No further system degradation. Center and right group breakthroughs. 5 to 8 contacts. 06:45:33. Frame 78. Starboard. 5-inch gun mount optical sensor housing. Rendered inoperable. Gun degraded to manual fire control. 06:45:41. Frame 89. Starboard. Deck plating adjacent to aft VLS array. Superficial deck penetration. No VLS impact. 6:45:44. Frame 102. Stern. Aft CIWS lower mounting bracket. Traverse fault registered. Similar 0.6 millimeter displacement. Aft CIWS continued firing. 3 to 5 additional breakthrough contacts. Weather deck and external structure. No system degradation confirmed. Drone engagement complete at 06:46:09. Both CIWS magazines were not yet dry. The engagement had consumed approximately 640 rounds from the forward magazine and 580 from the aft. Combined remaining 1,880 rounds. The shorter engagement duration compared to the Roosevelt swarm, 60 drones instead of 487, had produced proportionally less CIWS expenditure. But the damage profile was more precise. The container-launched swarm's 4-month targeting intelligence, the IRGC technical cell, had studied every Arleigh Burke-class vulnerability assessment document available in open source and academic literature, had resulted in the 60 drones being programmed with approach vectors, specifically oriented to maximize the probability of impacting port-side Aegis infrastructure. SPY-1D array, 2 offline. SLQ-32, port array inoperable. 5-inch gun optical sensor inoperable. 2 CIWS traverse faults, both still firing, but degraded. The planning cell had not designed the 60 drones as a magazine depletion mechanism like the Roosevelt Swarm. They had designed them as precision infrastructure removal. 60 small warhead platforms targeted at specific systems, rather than at the ship broadly. The result was operationally significant. With SPY-1D array 2 offline, Carney had 75% radar coverage. With the SLQ-32 port array degraded, the ship's electronic warfare sensitivity on the port bearing arc, bearing 037, the bearing from which the drones had come, and the bearing of the Iranian coast and of MV Hormuz Pioneer, was reduced to 60%. The ship was degraded precisely on the bearing that mattered. At 6:46:14, 5 seconds after the last drone impact, MV Hormuz Pioneer, still at 4.2 nautical miles bearing 037, opened a second modified container. Bay position, 7 starboard. This container held not drones. It held a single Noor anti-ship cruise missile in a hydraulic canister launcher. The same Noor configuration that had been used in previous Gulf engagements. The same 165 kilogram warhead. The same active radar seeker. The launch sequence initiated at 6:46:19. The Noor was in the air at 6:46:21, 2 seconds after the canister elevated. 1 missile, 4.2 nautical miles. Time to impact, 27 seconds. The SPY-1D acquired the launch at 6:46:22, 1 second after the missile left the canister. Classification: Noor anti-ship cruise missile. Range 4.1 nautical miles and closing at Mach 0.9. 26 seconds. The SLQ-32's port arc was degraded to 60% sensitivity. The Noor was bearing 037 on the port degraded arc. The fire control solution was generated by the SPY-1D Array 1 and Array 4. The forward and aft starboard arrays, both undamaged. The bearing was within their coverage overlap. The Aegis solution was valid. SM-6 rounds 1 and 2 away at 06:46:26. 4 seconds from NORTRAC acquisition to first interceptor. 22 seconds remaining to impact. At 4 nautical miles, an SM-6 against a sea-skimming Noor is a demanding engagement geometry. The interceptor needs to accelerate, acquire the target, and detonate in a compressed time and distance. The engagement was at the lower end of the SM-6's practical employment envelope for this target type. The round's motor burned hard, and the seeker acquired the Noor at 2.1 nautical miles intercept range. 0.4 nautical miles past the Noor's position. The geometry required the SM-6 to chase the Noor rather than intercept it head-on. The closure rate between the SM-6 and the Noor was approximately 180 meters per second in the tail chase geometry. The SM-6 closed the distance in 7.2 seconds and detonated at 6:46:39. The fragmentation warhead impacted the Noor's rear fuselage, the propulsion section. Engine termination. The Noor lost thrust. Guidance section intact. The missile began descending on its last computed heading. Range to Carney at engine termination, 1.8 nautical miles. An unpowered Noor on its last computed heading at 1.8 nautical miles, descending from 12 meters altitude at Mach 0.7. The trajectory was ballistic and computable. The SPY-1D tracked the debris track. The CIWS forward acquired the descending contact at range 0.7 nautical miles. Traverse mechanism engaged. The Traverse fault registered at 6:45:39 had not resolved. The 3.1 mm displacement in the Traverse motor produced a 0.8 degree pointing error at the gun's maximum traverse speed. The CIWS forward opened fire at 06:46:42. 0.8 degree traverse error at 0.7 nautical miles. The burst landed 10 meters left of the computed intercept point. The Noor's debris field, descending at Mach 0.7, was 10 meters outside the CIWS burst cone. The CIWS aft acquired the contact at 06:46:43, 1 second after the forward gun's burst. The aft gun's traverse fault, similar 0.6 degree displacement, produced an 8-meter pointing error. The aft CIWS burst at 06:46:44. The Noor's warhead section, impacted by fragmentation from the aft CIWS burst, not centered but within the fragmentation cone's outer radius at 8 meters, received 3 fragment strikes. The warhead's initiation circuit was not severed. The warhead remained armed. The unpowered Noor warhead section impacted Carney's port side at frame 67, deck level 2, at 06:46:47. Mach 0.5 at point of contact. Reduced velocity from the SM-6 engine termination and the unpowered descent. The warhead initiated on contact. 165 kilograms of high explosive at Mach 0.5. Reduced velocity meant reduced penetration depth. The warhead detonated at the hull surface rather than inside the hull. The blast energy propagated outward and laterally rather than inward through the hull layers. The hull at frame 67 was breached. A 1.1 meter by 0.7 meter rupture in the outer plating. But the inner hull framing absorbed the reduced energy blast. No penetration to deck level 1. No penetration to the machinery space below. Flooding through the outer hull breach at an ingress rate of approximately 140 liters per minute into the void space between the outer and inner hull. The double bottom configuration functioning exactly as designed, containing the ingress to a manageable flooding scenario. The port fire main forward of frame 60 ruptured at one point from blast pressure transmitted through the hull structure. No fire. The Noor's propellant had been consumed in flight, and the warhead's detonation at the hull surface rather than inside the ship did not produce ignition of ship's systems. The blast pressure wave propagated upward through the frame and reached the deck above. Frame 67, deck level 3, where it buckled 2 deck beam sections and displaced the electrical distribution panel mounted on the frame's port face. The panel's 3 circuit breakers tripped on the shock load. Power to 3 lighting circuits and 1 non-critical data feed was lost. SPY 1D Array 2 was already offline. The power panel trip did not affect any additional combat system feeds. The crew at frame 67 stations, 3 damage control personnel who had been moving toward their assigned flooding boundary positions since general quarters, were within 8 meters of the hull breach point at the moment of detonation. All 3 were thrown by the blast pressure wave. All 3 were assessed immediately. 2 with concussive effects from the overpressure. 1 with a laceration from a deckhead fitting that had been displaced by the shock. All 3 were ambulatory within 90 seconds. The DCA reached frame 67 at 6:49:02, 2 minutes and 15 seconds after the warhead detonation. Flooding in the void space at 140 liters per minute. 2 P100 pumps deployed. First pump started at 06:49:44. Second at 06:49:51. Combined discharge capacity 1,360 liters per minute against 140 liters ingress. Water level in the void space peaked at 0.19 meters at 06:51:12 and began declining immediately at 6:52:33, 5 minutes and 46 seconds after warhead detonation, the DCA reported. Hull breach frame 67, outer plating only, Void space flooding controlled. Water level declining. Fire main ruptured forward at frame 60. Isolated at frames 58 and 63. No fire. Power panel trip at frame 67. 3 non-critical circuits. SPY-1D. Array 2 offline. SLQ-32. Port array degraded. 5-inch gun optical sensor inoperable. Both CIWS. Traverse faults registered, but both firing. Ship status. Degraded, but operational. The captain had been in CIC since general quarters. He had watched his ship absorb 60 drones and a Noor warhead in 2 minutes and 19 seconds. He picked up the fleet command circuit at 065250. The Hormuz Pioneer was still at 4.3 nautical miles, bearing 037. Still transmitting civilian AIS. Still, as far as maritime law was concerned, a cargo vessel in international waters. The vessel, whose modified containers had just conducted a combined drone and missile engagement against a U.S. warship. Fifth Fleet authorization came at 6:58:44, 5 minutes and 54 seconds after the captain's report. The authorization included legal determination on MV Hormuz Pioneer and the full response package. Target coordinates. Site Alpha. MV Hormuz Pioneer. Still tracked on SPY-1D surface mode. Its civilian status had been removed by the irrefutable evidence of the container launches. 2 SM-6 rounds. Surface mode from Carney's own VLS. Site Bravo. The Bandar Abbas modification facility where the container launch system had been assembled. NRO coordinates on file from post USS. Donald Cook Engagement Intelligence Review, which had identified the same facility as a probable secondary modification location. Site Charlie. The IRGC Navy Technical Program coordinating the container launch system development. The same program office that had managed the Persepolis trader conversion. The intelligence link between the two vessel modification programs had been established in the preceding 3 months, and the coordinates were in the target database. Site Delta, a secondary drone manufacturing and storage compound identified in surveillance imagery as the supply source for the Arash-2 units loaded in the Hormuz Pioneer container. USS Laboon, DDG-58, was 88 nautical miles south. Authorization received at 6:59. USS Monterey, CG-61, was 130 nautical miles southwest. Authorization simultaneously. USS Abraham Lincoln, CVN-72, 240 nautical miles south in the Arabian Sea, received air wing authorization at 06:59:30. T+0, container opens, 60 drones launch. 06:44, T+2 minutes, last drone impact, Noor launches. 06:46, T+2 minutes 26 seconds, Noor warhead impact, Carney damaged. 06:47, T+11 minutes, authorization. 06:58, T+14 minutes. SM-6 neutralizes Hormuz Pioneer. T+16 minutes, first Tomahawk, USS Laboon. 700. T+32 minutes, first Tomahawk impacts Site Bravo. 7:16. T+68 minutes. F/A. 18 first wave weapons release. 7:52. Hormuz Pioneer SM-6 engagement at 6:58:51. 11 minutes and 30 seconds after the container opened. 2 SM-6 rounds from Carney's own VLS. Surface engagement mode at 4.3 nautical miles. Both rounds on target. The vessel's forward section, where both modified containers had been located, received both impacts within 6 seconds. The vessel began taking water immediately. Running cost, 2 SM-6 at $4.6 million. First Tomahawk, USS Laboon. 7 hours, 0 minutes, 14 seconds. Cost, $1.87 million. Target, Site Bravo, Bandar Abbas Modification Facility. Running cost, $6.5 million. Tomahawks 2 through 6. Site Bravo, primary assembly building, container fabrication bay, technical equipment storage, power supply, access road approach. 5 rounds. Running cost, $15.9 million. Tomahawks 7 through 10. Site Charlie, technical program office. 4 rounds. Running cost, $23.4 million. Tomahawks 11 through 14 from Laboon and Monterey. Site Delta, drone manufacturing and storage compound. 4 rounds. Running cost, $30.9 million. At 7:16, 32 minutes after the container opened, the first Tomahawk reached Site Bravo. Direct impact on the primary assembly building. Secondary rounds on the fabrication bay and technical storage. Post-engagement imagery confirmed all 3 primary structures inoperable at 7:17:44. The facility that had spent 6 months building the Hormuz Pioneer's container launch system and assembling 60 Arash-2 units was gone. Running cost at T plus 33 minutes, $15.9 million. Site Bravo assessed replacement value, $210 million and 8 months of reconstruction time. 7:20. Site Charlie, technical program office. All 4 rounds on target. Confirmed inoperable at 07:21:18. Personnel disposition, unconfirmed, consistent with IRGC pre-operation dispersal protocols. 07:24. Site Delta, drone compound. 3 of 4 rounds on target. The 4th, designated against the compound's perimeter access gate and approach road, impacted a storage structure 60 meters from the designated aim point due to a GPS update anomaly in the terminal phase. The access gate survived. First fog element, F/A, 18 first wave from Lincoln at weapons release range at 07:52. Targets, a 3rd vessel modification facility assessed from post-Donald Cook intelligence as a probable additional conversion site. A commercial dry dock leased to a shell company in the Bandar Abbas Free Trade Zone. And the coastal surveillance network supporting the Strait's covert platform targeting operations. 8 JSOW munitions. 6 of 8 confirmed on target. The dry dock facility confirmed inoperable. 2 coastal surveillance radar installations confirmed neutralized. 1 JSOW failed GPS lock and impacted open water. 1 JSOW impacted an adjacent pier structure rather than the designated surveillance facility building. Second fog element. At 8:41, all aircraft recovered to Lincoln. The accounting. IRGC investment. MV Hormuz. Pioneer acquisition and modification. Estimated $9.5 million, including vessel acquisition, container system fabrication, drone procurement, and deployment logistics. 60 Arash-2 units at $8,000 each, $480,000. 1 Noor missile, $500, 000. Total, $10.48 million. Damage achieved. Hull breach, frame 67. Outer plating, void space flooding controlled. SPY, 1D array, 2 offline. SLQ-32, port array degraded. 5-inch gun optical sensor inoperable. 2 CIWS traverse faults, both still operational. Forward fire main partial rupture, isolated. 3 personnel with concussive or laceration effects, all ambulatory within 90 seconds. Estimated repair cost, $18.4 million, 23 days. U.S. response cost, 4 SM-6 rounds including Hormuz Pioneer engagement, $9.2 million. 14 Tomahawks, $26.2 million. 8 F/A, 18 E/F sorties, $7.2 million. Total, $42.6 million. Adversary assets removed. MV Hormuz Pioneer non-recoverable. Site Bravo modification facility eliminated. Site Charlie technical program office eliminated. Site Delta drone compound severely degraded. Access road undenied. Additional dry dock facility eliminated. Coastal surveillance network reduced by 2 of 3 installations. The container swarm concept was the most operationally refined IRGC surface engagement architecture yet documented. 3 specific innovations over the Roosevelt swarm. The launch platform was mobile and commercially covered. No fixed coastal infrastructure. No detectable pre-positioning. The 60 drones were precision targeted against specific ship systems rather than as a broad magazine depletion mechanism. The port side approach geometry chosen to maximize impact probability against Array 2, the SLQ-32 port array, and the 5-inch gun mount. Third, the timing between drone wave and Noor launch was computed to exploit the post-drone CIC state. Both CIWS systems completing their cycles. The SLQ-32 port arc degraded. Array 2 offline. Traverse faults registered but unassessed. The CIWS traverse faults were the gap that let the Noor warhead through. 2 guns with sub-millimeter traverse displacement from targeted bracket impacts, 3.1 millimeters forward, 0.6 millimeters aft, produced 10 to 18 meter pointing errors at the final CIWS burst. The warhead received 3 fragment strikes that did not sever the initiation circuit, and it arrived at Mach 0.5 rather than Mach 0.9. The reduced velocity from the SM-6 engine termination, preventing penetration of the inner hull. The planning cell created the vulnerability. The SM-6 limited the consequence. Both outcomes lived in the same engagement. USS Carney, DDG-64. Hull breach frame 67, outer plating only, void space flooding controlled. SPY-1, D-Array 2 offline, 25% radar degradation. SLQ, 32 port arc at 60% sensitivity. 5-inch gun optical sensor inoperable. Both CIWS operational with traverse faults logged. Forward fire main partial rupture. Isolated, aft sections operational. 3 personnel. 2 concussive effects, 1 laceration, all ambulatory within 90 seconds. Repair. $18.4 million, 23 days. MOV Hormuz. Pioneer. Non-recoverable. Neutralized at 6:58:51. USS Laboon, DDG-58. No damage. 11 Tomahawks expended. USS Monterey, CG-61. No damage. 3 Tomahawks expended. USS Abraham Lincoln, CVN-72. 8F/A-18E/F sorties. All aircraft recovered. Total U.S. response cost, $42.6 million. Adversary. Hormuz Pioneer, non-recoverable. Site Bravo, confirmed neutralized. Site Charlie, confirmed neutralized. Personnel unconfirmed. Site Delta, severely degraded. Access road survived. Dry dock facility, confirmed neutralized. Coastal surveillance, 2 of 3 installations neutralized. U.S. execution, gaps. Site Delta access road survived GPS anomaly. 1 JSOW, dry dock strike missed aim point. Site Charlie personnel disposition unconfirmed. 3rd coastal surveillance installation survived JSOW aim point error. 23 days. That is Carney's repair timeline. The hull breach at frame 67 will be patched, Array 2 restored, the SLQ-32 port array replaced, the 5-inch gun sensor replaced, the CIWS traverse mechanisms recalibrated. 23 days. The Hormuz Pioneer spent 6 months in preparation and executed its engagement in 2 minutes and 19 seconds. The CIWS traverse faults created by targeted Arash-2 impacts on mounting brackets, 3.1 and 0.6 millimeters of displacement, allowed a warhead at Mach 0.5 to reach the outer hull. The container modification facility is gone. The technical program office is gone. The drone supply compound is severely degraded. Every commercial vessel transiting the strait now carries a different inspection burden than it did at 6:43 yesterday morning. USS Carney returns to patrol in 23 days. The strait is open.